Edition of the Spyder's Web live from the Bucks room. I'm Spyder. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Spyder's Web on YouTube and Facebook. This is part 2 of the free agency special that I told you I was going to get to. We're not going to talk about the Bucks, I promise. We're going to talk about other teams in the NFL, and I like doing this. And first and foremost, there were a lot of trades today. It was kind of crazy with the wide receivers that were getting moved around in the NFL. Percy Harvin gets traded from the Minnesota Vikings for a #1 pick to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks give up that #1 pick, also a mid-round and a 7th-round pick. And I was looking at this trade, and I was like, what are the Seahawks doing? But the more I look at it, the more it makes sense from the standpoint of Harvin being a dynamic offensive playmaker, one that the Seahawks really don't have. You have Sidney Rice, his former teammate. You have a good quarterback in Russell Wilson, who's only going to get better. You have Marshawn Lynch, and not only that, you have his offensive coordinator in Darren Bevel, who's going to definitely know how to use Harvin. Now, there's some risk to this deal, and I'll tell you what it is. Harvin, there was a report this year coming out, the last couple weeks, that basically he forced his way out of Minnesota, and he gave up on the team the last of the year. Now, I understand he wants to be paid $12 million, but this has to be one of the factors that you have to think about if you're the Seahawks. If this guy's not satisfied, will he pull this type of deal again? Hopefully not. He's also had injury problems with migraines and other things. So, overall, I think it's a good deal for the Seahawks. But it got me thinking, if the Vikings were willing to make this deal, did they talk to somebody else? Did they have a deal in the background? Did they maybe talk to an agent on Saturday? Because you know the general managers were able to talk to the agents on Saturday. Could they already have a deal in place for a wide receiver in free agency, and this is why they were willing to make that deal for Percy Harvin? Well, I'll get back to that in a moment. Now, Anquan Boldin, who just won the Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the San Francisco 49ers, the opponent of the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl, for a 6th-round pick. And this is simple, guys. The Ravens right now are trying to free up cap. They signed Joe Flacco to that big deal. They're probably going to lose Paul Kruger. They're probably going to lose Kerry Williams, but they want to sign Ellerbe, the linebacker, Daniel Ellerbe. He is the target right now. Ed Reed's probably gone, so it makes sense that they did not want to give Boldin his demands of $6 million a year. Now, here's what doesn't make sense. They only got a 6th-round pick for Boldin, who seems like he still has something left in the tank, especially during the playoffs this year. And the San Francisco 49ers on offense finally get a complimentary receiver, or you could say he's a #1 wide receiver, to a Michael Crabtree. So it makes their offense even that much better. So good deal by the 49ers. I get it by the Ravens, but what are the Ravens going to do at this point? You cut cap, you're going to sign a defensive player, you better sure well get somebody in there to play wide receiver for Joe Flacco. So overall, these trades are kind of surprising at this point, but I think this is the exciting part of the beginning of free agency and the football season. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the start of football season. It is my favorite time of the year. I love this. Now, a couple days ago, James Harrison gets released by the Steelers. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because James Harrison wants a certain amount of money. The Steelers are not willing to pay that type of money. They did this in the past with Joey Porter. They did it again with James Harrison. They have Jason Worlds in the background who they're going to start. This is how they work. They're going to probably not have Mike Wallace this year. I mean, right now, it's kind of a changing regard. But since the Steelers do such a great job with their scouting and drafting, they're able to let these type of players go who they feel like they gotten the most out of and replace them with guys that they draft and scout. So we'll see how this works out. I think James Harrison still has a little bit left in the tank, but I think the Pittsburgh Steelers did the right thing because they do have a young player in the background. So tell me what you think about these moves and these trades. What team won out? What team got took in these trades? What do you think about Percy Harvin in Seattle? Is it going to make the Seattle Seahawks now an eventual Super Bowl contender? Because I tell you right now, that team was very good, but that's a tough division now with the 49ers getting Boldin. How does that make their team? Well, what about James Harrison going from the Pittsburgh Steelers to what team now? Well, here are some of my predictions. I think Mike Wallace of the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to hit it big. A Vincent Jackson type deal. I think he's going to go to the Miami Dolphins, and I don't think the Dolphins can miss out on him because basically they got shut out of the Vincent Jackson. They were second last year. They could not pay Vincent Jackson enough. They won't get outbid this time. They will get their man in Mike Wallace. He'll be able to stretch the defense, help that rookie quarterback out in Tannehill. It's going to be an exciting year for the Miami Dolphins because I think the Miami Dolphins are going to do a lot of big things, and I think they have an opportunity in that division. You look at the Bills' struggles, you look at the Jets' struggles, the Miami Dolphins have a legitimate shot to finish second in this division because I don't really think New England is going to go anywhere. So look at the Dolphins here to get Mike Wallace. Now, the receiver that I mentioned before for the Minnesota Vikings, I think they have a deal in place, and this is just speculation on my part, but I think they have a deal in place for Greg Jennings. I like Greg Jennings to go to the Minnesota Vikings, give Christian Ponder another weapon. He's had some injury trouble himself, but when he can stay on the field, he is also a very good wide receiver that can run some very good routes. And again, I think that offense is going to become better with Jennings in the fold, if he goes there. Again, speculation on my part. Reggie Bush. You know, a lot of people say there's not really a market out there. There's two teams that come to mind, the Arizona Cardinals and the Detroit Lions. The Arizona Cardinals, it would make sense because they may be able to pay him that type of money. But with the quarterback situation there, Bush, why in the world would he want to go to the Cardinals? I say he goes to the Detroit Lions. The Lions finally have a weapon that they haven't had since Javon Best. They got a guy that can do it all, can catch. He's shown that he can run through the tackles. They also have Mikel LaShore in the fold. So now they have two good running backs, but Bush adds that dynamic on offense that they haven't had since Best. So I think that is a move that could be made. I think James Harrison ends up with the enemy. I think he goes to the Baltimore Ravens, and this is why. Because the Ravens are going to probably lose Paul Kruger to the Browns or somebody else that's going to overpay, and I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to take a look at James Harrison and see what he's got. And I think he still has some left in the tank. I think they're going to be willing to pay a little bit of money for him. I think they're going to be able to make him a deal. I don't know how much money, but I think that makes sense. Maybe the New England Patriots. Right now I'm saying Baltimore because Harrison started out in Baltimore. But an underdog or dark horse, if you will, would be the New England Patriots because they like these type of 3-4 linebackers. Now, Wes Welker, I think, stays with the New England Patriots. I think with the Patriots, he's very comfortable with Tom Brady. He's 32 years old. I'm not sure if there's a team in the NFL that's willing to pay the money for Welker's services, so I think he ends up with the New England Patriots. And that's all my predictions for the Spyder's Web. You tell me what you think. What team is going to go to, what player is going to go to the other teams? What do you think? Is Mike Wallace going to end up with the Miami Dolphins? Do you think Greg Jennings will end up with the Minnesota Vikings? Give me your predictions. Right on Facebook. Leave your comments on Facebook and YouTube. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the broadcast. Again, same Spyder time, same Spyder channel.